We're now going to look at operators in more detail. Let's move on to that next video now. In the previous video, we did a recap of the primitive data types, as well as getting a formal introduction to the string. In this video, we're going to take a look at operators, operands, and expressions. I've discussed very briefly what operators are, and we've used a few of them in expressions. Let's go deeper into that now. So what are operators? Operators in Java are special symbols that perform specific operations on 1, 2, or 3 operands and then return a result. In the example below, which we saw in a previous video, we use the addition operator as well as the multiplication operator. But there are many other operators in Java. So what is an operand? An operand is a term used to describe any object that is manipulated by an operator. So if we consider this code statement, here we are adding two numbers together. The plus here is the operator, and 15 and 12 are the operands. Variables used instead of literals can also be operands. Another example from a previous challenge. In the line above, byte value, short value, and int value are operands, as are the numeric literals. What's an expression? An expression is formed by combining variables, literals, method return values, which we haven't covered yet, and operators. They are a way of forming and combining those values to produce a result. In the line below, 15 plus 12 is the expression, which returns the value of 27. In the statement below, byte value plus short value plus int value is the expression. Alright, let's officially explore operators using some code in JShell and start by typing int result equals 1 plus 2 semicolon. I'll add 2 forward slashes to include a comment and type the expected result. You've actually seen this operator in use before. We've already done some basic arithmetic using the addition or additive operator. In fact, we've used several operators already. But now I want to clarify and go through the major operators so that you can become familiar with them and know how to use them. You'll find that some operators tend to be used a lot more frequently than others. What I've done on this line is I've added a comment at the end of the line with 2 forward slashes to type out what the expression should evaluate to before we print it out. More on comments in a moment. How many operators would you say are in this statement? Well, we've actually got 2, the equal operator and the plus operator. The equal operator is also called the assignment operator, and it's used to assign a value. In this case, it's assigning what's on the right-hand side of the equals operator to the variable I've called result on the left. The value being assigned will be 3 in this case, which is the sum of 1 plus 2. The addition operator is a 2 operand operator. It adds the operand to the left of the plus sign to the operand on the right. So the expression is using 2 operands here. Most of the operators you are probably familiar with are used on 2 operands. An operand itself can be an expression and can contain multiple expressions and operands. In the next video, we'll cover single operand operators, which, as you may have guessed, perform a function on a single operand. But first, since this is the first time I've used a comment in code, let's pause a moment to talk about comments. Comments are ignored by the computer and are added to a program to help describe something. Comments are there for humans to read. We use 2 forward slashes in front of any code or on a blank line. Anything after the 2 forward slashes, right through to the end of that line, is ignored by the computer. So aside from describing something about a program, comments can also be used to temporarily disable code. Let's introduce another variable, int previous result equals result. I'll go ahead and change the value of result. Result equals result minus 1. I'll next include a comment there, and my comment is going to say what the expected outcome will be. Because result is 3, I am taking away 1, and the answer should be 2. And there we have it, result is now equal to 2. It's highly recommended that you use comments to describe what you are trying to achieve. Before we move on, you may be wondering about the value that is now in the previous result variable after the last statement. To summarize, I assigned result to previous result, and then I changed the value of result. Did this also change the value in previous result? That is a good question. Let's swing back and see if the values in the previous result and result variables are independent of each other. I'll just print the value of previous result using system.out.print. Even though I previously assigned result to the previous result variable, it did not get updated when result got a new value of 2. The value in previous result remained unchanged. When I assigned result to previous result, the value of result at that time was 3, and 3 was assigned to previous result. Any further changes to the value of result don't affect previous result, as I've just demonstrated. Before we move away from the addition operator, let's compare what happens if you use it on character data types. We've seen before that the char holds a single character, and the string can hold multiple characters. We've also discussed in the previous video that a string plus anything else gives us a string. But what about chars? Let's create 2 char variables and print them out using the addition operator, as I'll show here. Char, first char, equals single quote A, single quote, semicolon, char, second char, equals single quote B, single quote, semicolon. Let's print them out. System.out.print and then first char plus second char in parentheses. Can you guess what the result will be? Is it going to be A concatenated with B? Let's hit enter and see. So the result definitely does not look like A concatenated with B. Where did 131 come from? You might remember that we said chars are stored as 2 byte numbers in memory. When you use the addition operator with chars, it is these numbers in memory that get added together. The character values don't get concatenated. The decimal values for A and B are 65 and 66 respectively. If you don't know how I got these numbers, revisit the video on chars and use the symbol.cc website I showed you in that video to get both the Unicode and decimal values. So adding 65 and 66 will give us 131. This question has come up occasionally as a question, and I wanted to explain why this happens. If you really want to print A concatenated with B, you can concatenate these variables to a string. We'll do that next. System.out.print, left parentheses, double quotes, plus first char plus second char, right parentheses, semicolon. In this code, I am starting with 2 double quotes. This is called an empty string and is a valid string literal. We next use a plus on that string. Any plus after a string is going to be a concatenation operator, as I've stated several times, so I'll hit enter. And now the character A was transformed into a string and concatenated to an empty string, and the same occurred with the character B. It's probably unlikely you'd be outputting data a single character at a time using the char, but it is important to understand that the char and the string do not treat the plus sign the same. Alright, so let's try another operator we've seen before, and that's probably very familiar to you, the multiplication operator. Let's set the value of result to 2 first, just so that we are all on the same page before we go on. And now, using multiplication, let's multiply it by 10. Result equals result times 10, semicolon. And we'll add a comment to describe what we expect the equation result to be. So one of the operands in this case is result, which has the value of 2, and we're multiplying 2 by 10, so the new value for result should be 20. Let's press enter to see if that's correct. And no surprises there. We get a value of 20 when we use result, which has a value of 2, the first operand, and we multiply it by 10, the second operand. Next, let's do a bit of division, remembering now that result has the value of 20 from the previous statement. Result equals result divided by 4, semicolon. And I'll add a comment with the expected result. And again, no surprises there. The result equals 5. So moving on, we'll now look at the remainder operator, which may not be as familiar to you as the last few we've reviewed. The remainder operator is represented in Java by the % sign. The remainder operator goes by several other names: modulus, modulo, or just plain mod for short. The remainder operator returns the remaining value from a division operation. If there is no remaining value, the result is 0. This table shows some examples. In the first example, 10 can be divided evenly by 5, so there is no remainder. In the second example, 10 can be divided evenly by 2, so there is no remainder. In the third example, 10 can't be divided evenly by 3, but we get 3 from the division, which gives us 9 with 1 remaining. Finally, using 1 as the right operand always gives us 0, so it's unlikely to add value to your code. You might ask, when would you ever use the remainder operator? It turns out that this is a pretty useful operator, although probably not used as often as many other operators. To see that working, we're going to set result back to 5. This is in case you have lost track of the value of result